Welcome back to bmaster79. In this video we tackle an ielts writing task 2 question about fresh water, and we build a band 9 answer from a blank page, unpacking the question, brainstorming both views, planning, and then writing the essay paragraph by paragraph. Here is the question. Some people think that people should be given the right to use fresh water as they like. Others believe governments should strictly control the use of fresh water. Discuss both views and give your own opinion. Read it twice. Every word you skip is a mark you lose. This is a discuss both views and give your own opinion question. That means 3 obligations, not 2. You must present view A, present view B, and make your own position unmistakable. Develop both views fairly, because a lopsided essay limits your task response score. State your opinion in the introduction and restate it at the end. And never sit on the fence. An unclear position is the single most common reason a strong essay lands at band 6.5. Aim for 260 to 300 words. Now unpack the wording. The right to use fresh water as they like is about unrestricted personal consumption, not about access to water in the first place. Strictly control is strong language, so you are discussing firm regulation, not gentle encouragement. Widen the scope. Fresh water covers drinking and washing, but also farming and industry, and that wider scope gives you far stronger arguments. One trap to avoid: do not drift into water pollution or plastic bottles. This question is about use and control. Five minutes of brainstorming. On the left, view A. Water is essential to life, so it is a basic entitlement rather than a privilege. Households already pay through bills and taxation. Domestic use is only a small fraction of total withdrawals. Policing private homes is intrusive and hard to enforce. And in water-rich regions, strict limits solve a problem that does not exist. On the right, view B. Fresh water is finite and shared, a classic common resource. Unchecked abstraction drains aquifers and dries rivers. The poorest suffer first because they cannot afford to drill deeper wells. Only the state can allocate water between farms, factories, and homes. And drought demands emergency powers that only a government can enforce. Now choose your position, and make it a nuanced one. Access should be guaranteed as a right, but consumption must be regulated by government. Concede what is genuinely true in view A. Conceding costs you nothing and signals maturity. Then argue why view B is ultimately more persuasive. A qualified opinion, using a structure like although something is true, I am convinced that, reads as band 9 thinking. Four paragraphs. Paragraph 1. The introduction. Paraphrase the issue. Present both views. State your position in about 65 words. Paragraph 2. View A. Presented fairly, with 2 developed reasons, entitlement and proportionality, in about 85 words. Paragraph 3. View B, and why it wins, covering the shared resource, irreversible depletion, and what only the state can do, in about 95 words. Paragraph 4. The conclusion. Restate the qualified position and propose a dual approach, in about 60 words. 2 minutes of planning saves 10 minutes of rambling. The introduction. Fresh water is at once a basic human necessity and a finite resource under mounting pressure. While some maintain that individuals should be free to consume it exactly as they wish, others insist that its use must be tightly regulated by the state. Having weighed both arguments, I believe access should be guaranteed as a right, but consumption must remain subject to government oversight. Notice there is no copying from the question. The right to use as they like has become free to consume exactly as they wish, and the position is signaled by having weighed both arguments, which makes it sound earned rather than announced. Body paragraph 1. Those who favor unrestricted use rest their case on two reasonable foundations. The first is entitlement. Water is essential to life, and in most countries households already pay for what they consume through bills and taxation, so dictating how they use it can feel like an intrusion into private life. The second is proportionality. Domestic consumption is dwarfed by agriculture and industry, which together account for the overwhelming majority of global withdrawals, so restricting families while leaving those sectors untouched would be both ineffective and unfair. The opening sentence announces the structure, and presenting the opposing view generously is a strength, not a weakness. Body paragraph 2. Nevertheless, the case for regulation is ultimately more compelling because fresh water is a shared resource whose depletion is irreversible on any human timescale. Where abstraction goes unchecked, aquifers fall, rivers fail to reach the sea, and those who suffer first are invariably the poorest, who cannot afford to drill deeper wells. Only a central authority can allocate a common resource between competing claims, impose emergency limits during drought, and fund the reservoirs, treatment plants, and leak repairs on which everyone depends. Left to individual discretion, short-term convenience will always outweigh long-term collective interest. Nevertheless does the pivot, and the concrete mechanism beats vague assertion every time. The conclusion. In conclusion, although the wish for personal freedom over an essential resource is understandable, I am convinced that governments must retain the power to control fresh water. The most sensible approach is therefore a dual one: guarantee every household an affordable basic supply as a matter of right, while firmly regulating the largest consumers and any consumption beyond that threshold. Although, I am convinced, gives you a qualified but unambiguous position, and the dual proposal answers both views instead of dismissing one. No new arguments here, only synthesis. Here is the complete essay, 304 words. Pause the video and read it as a whole. Notice how each paragraph does exactly one job, and how the linking words almost disappear into the sentences rather than sitting on top of them. Your topic vocabulary bank. A finite resource cannot be replaced once used up. Abstraction and withdrawals are the technical terms for taking water from a source. An aquifer is an underground layer of rock holding groundwater. Water scarcity means supply is insufficient to meet demand. A shared or common resource is owned by no one and used by all, which is exactly why it gets overused. Impose restrictions is the standard verb and noun pairing for regulation. Allocate between competing claims means dividing a limited supply fairly, and irreversible depletion is loss that cannot be undone. And your functional phrase bank for discussion essays. To introduce view A, those who favor X rest their case on. To pivot to view B, nevertheless, the case for Y is more compelling. To concede, although this argument has some force. To structure reasons, the first is, the second is. To state your opinion having weighed both arguments, I believe. And to conclude, the most sensible approach is therefore a dual one. Learn the frames, then pour any topic into them. Why this reaches band 9 against the 4 criteria. Task response. Both views are developed and the position is clear in the introduction and the conclusion. Coherence and cohesion. One idea per paragraph, and linking that is invisible rather than bolted on. Lexical resource. Precise topic collocations instead of decorative synonyms. Grammatical range and accuracy. Complex sentences used because the meaning needs them, with error-free control. One honest caveat: band 9 here reflects an internal quality check against the public ielts band descriptors. It is not a score awarded by a certified examiner. Your turn. Write body paragraph 2 arguing the opposite, that individual freedom should win. Same length, same precision. Post your version in the comments and I will read them. If this helped, subscribe to Bmaster79 for more Band 9 walkthroughs. See you in the next one.